Julie can't play the violin. Today, I was at my daughter Julie's violin concert. But despite waiting eagerly, she didn't appear. Worried, I went backstage and found her huddled over, clutching her arm. Apparently, the intense daily practice had caused severe pain in her arm, making it impossible for her to play. Come on, we've been waiting. Hurry up. In the concert hall, impatient shouts from the audience began to echo. The organizer was struggling, discussing with the staff what to do next. Isn't there anyone else who can perform? Anyone else? Everyone's waiting for her. There's no replacement. I know that. But what are we supposed to do? At this point, my body moved on its own. I'll go, no, I'll perform. As I played on stage, my life changed 180 degrees. My name is Trent. I'm 42 years old. All right. Lunch is ready. Okay. Coming down the stairs was my wife, Yvonne. Trailing behind her was our daughter, Julie, who was rubbing her eyes and moving slowly. Come on, it's almost time for school, right? Julie nodded and headed straight for the front door. From the entrance, I heard a sleepy "I'm off." The door clicked shut. Julie seemed to have gone off to school just like that. Julie doesn't talk much since she started elementary school. She's starting to grow up, becoming more aware of boys and unsure how to interact with her dad. I've heard it happens. But Julie is a kind and honest girl. She'll be talking again soon, I'm sure. Yeah, you're right. Yvonne comforted me as I felt a pang of loneliness. I nodded at her words and gave her a kiss goodbye. We were just your typical happy family. And I was the one who supported them, but not as a regular office worker. Actually, I'm just a part-time worker. You might think it's pathetic for someone my age to be working part-time. Honestly, I felt ashamed of myself too. I'm sorry. Be careful at work. It's okay. We're a family, so don't worry about it. Besides, if you keep looking so down, you'll make me feel down too. I don't want to go to work with a face like that. Yvonne lightly patted my cheeks. I smiled a little and saw her off. Yvonne is a music teacher. As for me, I'm a stay-at-home dad who works part-time. Every morning, it had become my routine to prepare lunch for my wife and daughter. After watching Yvonne leave for work, I cleaned up the kitchen and headed to the living room. There, I saw the familiar violin on display. Beautifully decorated, with a glossy finish. I picked up the violin and began to play. The melody that was ingrained in my memory flowed through the violin. A clear, resonant note emerged. It was exactly the sound I had imagined. It can be played smoothly. But I stopped my hand. The only time it played smoothly was at the very beginning. When I look at my hand, my fingers are trembling so badly that it feels like I'm about to drop the bow that was creating the sound. Huff, huff. Before I know it, my breathing has become labored. Even though I try to continue playing, it feels as if all the strength in my hand is draining away. My arm begins to feel numb, and the bow almost slips from my grasp, so I hurriedly return the violin to its stand. Crash! I placed it down a bit too roughly. But I don't have the luxury of checking whether the violin is all right. I'm too focused on trying to steady my shaking hands. Once, both Yvonne and I played the violin. We both graduated from music school and were praised by our teachers. More than anything, we loved playing the violin. But the world isn't that kind. Violinists aren't exactly rare, either here or abroad. But there are few professionals who can make a living from it. It's hard to make it with just the violin unless you have considerable talent. Ha, I really need to find a full-time job soon. Even while doing household chores, I browse job sites during my breaks. Even though I'm working part-time, my income is low. I can't keep putting all the burden on my wife. Before I know it, it's almost time for Yvonne and Julie to come home. I move around busily, opening the refrigerator repeatedly as I prepare dinner. And so, another day ends without me achieving anything. Sunday. The gentle sound of the violin fills the room. A refined, utterly pleasant sound. Mom, are you playing the violin again? Julie asks Yvonne. Yvonne is playing a relaxed tune on the violin in the living room. With a dreamy expression, she responds, "Yes, I am." Yvonne plays the violin on her days off. Unlike me, Yvonne enjoys the violin as a hobby. Mom, you really love playing the violin, don't you? Yes, there's something so calming about the sound. It feels so good. As I watch them, I'm in the kitchen, putting away the dishes. Whenever I go to the living room, Julie naturally retreats to her room, so I take my time cleaning up, allowing Yvonne and Julie to relax in the living room. I enjoy this time more than I thought I would. Hey, Mom. Yes? Can I try playing too? Oh, the violin? Of course, you can. In the living room, Yvonne happily hands the violin to Julie. She places her hands over Julie's and starts teaching her. Hold it like this. Yes, that's right. Now, next, do this. Screech. Mom. Did you hear that? I made a sound. You sure did. That's great. Now, let's try this next. Like this. Oh. What? She managed to do that in such a short time. I was surprised too. She actually produced a proper sound. Even though she's a beginner, she managed to create a real violin sound. Yvonne and Julie beamed with bright smiles. From that day on, Julie began to show an interest in the violin. At first, Yvonne taught her at home, but soon Julie started asking Yvonne if she could learn properly. After some deliberation, Yvonne and I decided to have her start formal lessons with the professional violin teacher, Mr. Yates. Julie and Yvonne went to talk to him right away, and she began taking lessons. Mom! Hurry, hurry! Today's violin day. Julie's smiles became more frequent. She used to retreat to her room often, but since she started learning the violin, she began going out more. It was a good sign. Then one day, Yvonne came to me excitedly, with Julie in tow. Hey, darling. Yes? What's up? Yvonne spoke to me with a delighted expression. At that moment, I thought something good must have happened. Yvonne nudged the fidgeting Julie from behind, urging her to go ahead. Julie timidly approached me and showed me a piece of paper. I took it, curious. It's a thick piece of paper. Excellence Award. What? I let out a gasp of surprise. I looked at Julie. She gave me the shy smile I hadn't seen since she was a little girl. Julie. You won an award. Yeah. Julie answered shyly. Julie had won this award in front of renowned educators at a competition that seeks to discover promising talent from among many budding young musicians across the country. She's found something she's truly passionate about, and she's smiling more. This is wonderful. And the surprises didn't end there. Hello, this is Trent. My wife, Yvonne, couldn't make it because of work, so I'm here instead. One day, I was called in by Mr. Yates, Julie's violin teacher. Since Yvonne was at work, I had to go, and I nervously walked into the violin class. "Are you Julie's father?" As soon as I entered the room, someone grabbed my hand. Yes, I am. I'm Julie's father." I answered hesitantly, realizing that the person was Mr. Yates. After thanking him for all he's done, Mr. Yates hurriedly made me sit down and offered me a chair. We sat facing each other, and he began talking about my daughter Julie. "Julie is incredible. She's a once-in-a-decade talent." "Violin, you mean?" "Yes, absolutely." Mr. Yates continued, his face filled with genuine joy as he spoke about Julie's progress. "Apparently, she's won numerous awards and can already play difficult pieces. Here are some of the evaluation sheets from the judges when she won those awards. All of them are near perfect scores. Even I find Julie's performances truly remarkable." I look over the evaluation sheets from the competition judges where Julie participated. Just as Mr. Yates said, the scores were impressively high. More than that, the comments in the remarks section were all words of praise for Julie. But it wasn't just praise, each sheet also included detailed feedback on what she should work on and how to improve her performance. The judges had clearly put a lot of thought into their feedback, resulting in a significant amount of text. Therefore, I would like to suggest that she start studying to become a professional musician. With that, Mr. Yates handed me a slightly thick document. I listened as I took it from him. "A change of plan?" "Yes. Julie is eager, and I think switching to a plan aimed at professional training would be a great idea. What do you think?" I couldn't quite grasp the reality of it. Julie. Could my daughter really have such talent? With mixed feelings, I hesitated. Just then, there was a knock on the door. "Excuse me, it's Julie. May I come in?" I quickly glanced at the clock. It was already time for Julie's lesson to end. "Good job today, Julie." "Thanks, and thank you for coming, Dad." Julie, a little embarrassed, thanked me. Mr. Yates smiled warmly as he watched Julie. "Well then, please give it some thought." "Julie, I've already discussed this with your father." "Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Yates." It seemed that Julie had already heard about it from Mr. Yates. Seeing Julie in such a good mood made me seriously consider what he had said. After we got home, since Yvonne hadn't returned from work yet, I decided to wait for her. I prepared dinner while waiting for her to come back. As soon as Julie got home, she headed straight to her room. Though I couldn't hear from the kitchen, when I went down the hallway, I could hear Julie humming happily along with the soft sound of her violin. "Julie, it's getting late, so it's time to stop playing the violin." "Okay." I called out to Julie from the hallway, and then headed back to the kitchen, where I heard the sound of the front door opening. "I'm home." "Welcome back, Yvonne." Yvonne had come home. I took off my apron as I went to greet her. "I'm so tired." "Good job today." "Julie's already upstairs." "Oh, Trent, thank you. It really helped that you picked up Julie. By the way, Mr. Yates called you in today, right?" "What was that about?" "Well, actually, Yvonne asked me right away. She must have been curious too." I told Yvonne everything that Mr. Yates had said in the lesson. I couldn't help but frown as I spoke out of concern, but Yvonne's face gradually lit up with each word. "So, that's what it was about." "Oh, that's amazing. Julie really is something." "Yeah, but I know what you're thinking. You're worried it'll be tough, right?" But we have to listen to what Julie wants too. Julie, come here for a minute. Yvonne called for Julie. I heard the sound of her quickly running from her room. It seemed like she came out faster than usual. What is it, Mom? It's about what Mr. Yates mentioned today about the violin. Yvonne started to explain. Before she could finish, Julie, her eyes sparkling, eagerly interrupted. I want to do it. I really want to take on the violin seriously, Julie said, looking back and forth between Yvonne and me with an excited expression. I looked at Julie seriously and shook my head. I'm against it. What? The hopeful expression on Julie's face instantly crumbled. She probably thought I would definitely say yes. The joyful look on her face twisted into one of hurt and confusion because of my words. Listen, the world of violin isn't as easy as it seems. Only a handful of people can make a living playing the violin. And if you decide to aim for a professional career, you won't be able to quit just because it gets tough. Julie is still in elementary school. She's at an age where she should be exploring different paths and seeing what the world has to offer. There's no need for her to decide on the path of the violin just yet. Seeing Julie's dejected look, Yvonne gently stroked her shoulder. Julie grabbed Yvonne's hand and looked up at her. Mom, are you against it too? Well. Yvonne glanced at me briefly before smiling gently. I think you should do what you really want to do, Julie. Wait, Yvonne. Why not? Julie wants to do it. I want to support her. But Yvonne kneeled down to meet Julie at eye level. Listen carefully. Like your dad said, once you start, you can't quit just because it gets hard. Sometimes you'll have to push through, even when it's tough. But don't push yourself too far. If it truly becomes too much, it's okay to stop. If you can learn where that line is, you might become truly accomplished. I let out a big sigh at Yvonne's words. Yvonne, I don't want Julie to go through the same hardships I did. That's why I'm against it. Oh, come on. Even Mr. Yates gave her his stamp of approval. That's not the point. We started to argue a bit. Looking back, it wasn't something we should have done in front of Julie, but I was desperate to convince Yvonne. However, after a while, Julie suddenly raised her voice. Okay, Dad. What? Julie faced me with a determined look. It was a face that had made a decision. There's a international competition coming up. I was talking with Mr. Yates about entering it. If I win that competition, will you allow me to study to become a professional? The international competition. I widened my eyes when I heard the name. It's a competition known to violinists. It's also a prestigious event that many young violinists enter as a rite of passage. I was deeply conflicted. In the end, I finally gave in and said, all right then. From the next day, Julie became even more dedicated to her violin practice. To meet Julie's request to practice more at home, Yvonne and I assembled a foldable soundproof room we had stored away in the garage. Julie started spending every day inside, practicing. At first, Julie played the violin with joy, but gradually, her expression grew more serious as she immersed herself in practice. Julie, dinner's ready. Julie, come down for dinner. Yvonne and I would call her for dinner. But, of course, Julie couldn't hear us while she was practicing in the soundproof room. It became a routine for Yvonne to open the soundproof room's door and call Julie for dinner. Julie, I've told you to set a schedule, haven't I? You need to eat dinner properly. But I want to use dinner time to practice too. You can't do that. You need to eat properly. And practicing constantly isn't good either. Didn't Mr. Yates tell you that taking breaks is important? He did. Julie looked down, chastised by Yvonne. Lately, there had been more days like this when Yvonne had to scold her. But the next day, Julie would make the same mistake again. She was truly giving it her all. One day, Yvonne had to work late, so she wouldn't be home until later. Dinner's almost ready. I guess I should go get Julie. Since Yvonne wasn't home, I went to call Julie myself. As usual, Julie was practicing the violin in the soundproof room. I went to the room and peered through the small window of the soundproof room to watch Julie. I started to open the door but stopped. I decided to observe her practice for a while. For some reason, I felt curious. The violin Julie held produced a beautiful sound. She started playing a piece, but she missed a note and started over from the beginning. She repeated this several times, and when something occurred to her, she quickly jotted it down. To me, it seemed like a rather rough way of practicing. She kept playing the same passage over and over until she could get it right, repeating it countless times. Oh, you're supposed to do it like that. No, wait. Don't play it like that continuously. Ah. I couldn't help feeling frustrated. At this rate, she would wear herself out. I watched for a little longer, but I couldn't hold back any longer and opened the door to the soundproof room. Julie. Ah. Dad, you scared me. Julie jumped at the sound of my voice. I'm sorry. I was just concerned. Are you struggling with that part? You've been playing it over and over. Yeah. I just can't seem to get it right. Play it for me. Go ahead, just like you were doing earlier. Oh, okay, Responding to my request, Julie played the violin. And again, she stumbled over the same spot. I knew it. I gently placed my hand over Julie's. Dad? What are you doing? Originally, your hand was positioned here, right? Now, just move it over here. Imagine it flowing smoothly and relax your arm. Let's try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Julie began playing again, following my lead. 1, 2, now. Relax your arm. It's too tense. Yes, like that. Oh. Julie's face lit up with surprise. She finally managed to play the part she had been struggling with. She looked at me with a joyful expression. Wow. That's amazing. I was just putting too much tension in my arm. That's why it felt so awkward. Thanks, Dad. Oh, well, yeah, no problem. I felt a bit embarrassed by Julie's praise. I stepped back from her a little, feeling shy. I couldn't help but intervene when I saw her struggling. For now, let's have dinner. Your mom's still at work. Okay, I'll be right there. No, I'm going to watch and make sure you actually stop this time. It's important to rest properly too. You sound just like Mom. All right. Let's go eat. Okay. Julie reluctantly put down her violin and left the soundproof room. From that day on, I started checking in on Julie's violin practice more often. I was worried about her, but I was also happy to be talking with her more. as she hadn't been very communicative lately. I thought she'd tell me to stop interfering. But when it comes to the violin, she listens to me. Yes. Julie never complained when it came to my guidance on the violin. She listened intently, put my advice into practice, and understood it fully. Through the violin, Julie and I began to reconnect and rebuild our father-daughter relationship. Gradually, her expression softened, and I found myself able to talk to her naturally again. And as I spent more time helping her with practice, I realized something. Her concentration was incredible. When she played the violin, she was so focused that she didn't even hear other people's voices. But her playing wasn't stiff at all. She moved gracefully and played with elegance. Her ability to perform was truly remarkable. Her willingness to learn was another great quality. She absorbed everything she was taught. The more she learned, the better she became. I was particularly impressed by how quickly she could incorporate what she had just been taught into her playing. Mr. Yates was right about her talent. I can see it now. She really does have a gift. But while I was amazed by Julie, she was equally surprised by me. One day, during practice, Julie suddenly praised me. "Dad, you're amazing. I had no idea you could play the violin like this. Why don't you play more often? Mom still plays sometimes on the weekends." "Well, I'm not like you, Julie. I don't have the courage." Courage? For Julie. I clenched my fists as I thought about it. I used to be called a prodigy when it came to the violin. There was a time when I won nearly every violin competition in the country. There were weeks when I would enter 3 competitions in a row. I loved the violin passionately from a young age, and it brought me so much joy. So, I decided to go abroad to study and pursue a professional career. Everyone had high expectations for me, and I believed I could make it. But reality was far harsher than I imagined. In the country where I studied, I struggled with the language and cultural barriers. It wasn't an English-speaking country, so even though I had learned some basic phrases, everyday conversations and regional accents were far more difficult than I expected. On top of that, I had to adhere to strict etiquette, which took my focus away from my music studies. I tried to be friendly and build relationships with my classmates, who were all striving to improve. But misunderstandings only deepened my isolation. My professors constantly criticized me for not respecting traditions, and the confidence I had at the beginning of my studies quickly eroded. It soon became evident in my demeanor and posture, and those around me began mocking me, throwing out words I couldn't even understand. By the time I realized it, the situation had escalated to severe bullying, and I fell into a slump. Despite my mental state, the competitions wouldn't wait. I found myself standing on stage, exhausted both physically and mentally. My performance lacked any grace, and the audience responded with jeers and boos. In such a large venue, in front of so many people, I fled back to the US, filled with shame and sadness. Since then, every time I tried to play the violin, the memories of that time would flash back, and I just couldn't play anymore. But you're different from me. You'll be okay. I'm sorry I've been so against it. From now on, I'll support you with all my heart. Together with your mom. Dad. Julie reached out and held my clenched fist. It was as if she was telling me everything would be all right. "The way you've been teaching me, Dad, your playing was really amazing." I realized right away how much you must have practiced to produce that sound. How hard you must have worked. No matter what anyone else says, you're the best in the world to me. Well, look at that. You're making me blush with such kind words. Hey, I'm being serious. Thank you, Julie. I quickly stood up. I felt like I was about to cry. I pretended to check the time as I opened the door to the soundproof room. I didn't want Julie to see my face. All right, I need to start making dinner. Your mom should be home soon. I hurried to the kitchen, speaking in a somewhat clumsy manner. Julie's words filled me with joy. A few days later, the day of Julie's competition finally arrived. Yvonne and I waited anxiously for the results. But deep down, we already knew the outcome. We believed in Julie. Okay, I'm going to show you now. Julie called out to Yvonne and me. We both nodded. Ta-da! Eh? Julie pulled out a piece of paper. It was a certificate. Of course. I won first place. Yay! It's all thanks to you, Dad and Mom, for cheering me on. Thank you so much. The three of us celebrated together. Julie had won first place in the competition. And what's more, she was the youngest winner ever. Julie had secured her ticket to becoming a professional violinist with her own hands. Julie is different from me. She'll be okay. I vowed from that day on to support her with all my strength. The day after the competition, word of Julie's victory spread, and the media showed up at our house. Julie was soon featured as a prodigy violinist in newspapers and on television. The response was so overwhelming that an impromptu concert was arranged for the winners. Since Julie had won first place, she would be the headliner for the concert. As soon as Julie's name was announced, the concert tickets sold out immediately. It seemed she already had a growing fan base. It's next week. Next week. You guys have to come. Mom, Dad. Julie was overjoyed about the upcoming concert. She reminded Yvonne and me of the date several times, and both of us arranged to take the day off to see her perform. On the day of the concert, Yvonne and I showed our tickets to the staff and entered the venue. We're not the ones performing, but I can't help feeling nervous. Yeah, me too. I chuckled at Yvonne's comment. My hands were sweating profusely. We found our seats, and soon, the performances of the other violinists, who had also begun their professional journeys, began. Each performance was met with thunderous applause, fitting for the competition's top finishers. And then, it was finally Julie's turn. My heart was pounding. Wait. A murmur started to spread through the audience. Julie wasn't coming out. And the staff seemed to be moving around frantically. Something was wrong. What's happening? Why is she so late? Yeah. I'll go check. I couldn't stand the worry any longer and quickly got up from my seat. I hurried to the dressing room, where I had heard Julie would be waiting. A staff member stopped me along the way, but when I explained that I was Julie's father, they escorted me to her dressing room. Ouch, ouch. Julie. I could hear Julie's groans even from outside the room. When I rushed inside, I found her curled up, clutching her arm. Her face was twisted in pain and distress. What happened? What's going on? I didn't care about the people around me. I rushed straight to Julie. Seeing me, Julie began to cry, her tears streaming down her face as she spoke. Dad. My arm hurts. I can't play. It seemed the intense pain in her arm was preventing her from playing the violin. She must have overworked her arm while preparing for the competition. This venue is in a remote area, so even if we call an ambulance, it won't arrive until after the concert ends. We're looking for ice and compress. So let's give her some first aid in the meantime. Thank you. The staff pressed a wet towel and a cold water bottle against the affected area. Julie seemed to be enduring the pain as best as she could. I gently stroked her head. It's okay, Julie. Don't worry about anything. Just keep still and rest, I said, trying my best to reassure her. But even through her tears and pain, Julie seemed concerned about what was happening around her. Noticing her anxiety, I glanced around the room. The staff looked flustered. What should we do? Is there no one? But everyone's waiting for her. I could hear their worried voices. The organizers were clearly struggling to figure out what to do. Hey, we're waiting out here. Hurry up! The murmurs from the audience were loud enough to reach the dressing room. This isn't good. The concert can't go on like this, and Julie's reputation could be at stake. I looked over at the violin sitting near Julie. It was the same violin I had used during her practice sessions. Even though it was Julie's violin, I had grown accustomed to it through our practice together. I made a decision. Excuse me. Yes? I got up the courage to talk to someone who seemed to be the organizer. And then, I'll go on stage. What? I'm Julie's father. I'll perform. With that, I picked up Julie's violin. I'll just borrow this for a bit. Dad. Julie looked at me with worry. One of the organizers, who had been standing nearby, tried to stop me. Wait, do you even play the violin? I've won several competitions in the past. I wasn't lying. I had indeed won numerous competitions in my younger days. Whether I still had the skill now was another matter. The organizer hesitated. Understandably so. After all, the plan was for a young girl to perform on stage, not some middle-aged man whose abilities were unknown. However, they are unable to find a replacement and are keeping the audience waiting for a long time. We can't just send out one of the performers who has already finished playing again. As the organizer hesitated, clearly at a loss, Julie suddenly shouted out, "My father is incredible. He's been teaching me almost every day outside of lessons. He's an amazing violinist. Don't you know Trent? Wait. Trent? You mean that Trent?" The older organizer seemed to recall my name. Trent. I remember you now. You were quite the violinist back in the day. So, you've continued playing? Well, I've had a long break. I see. All right, I'll let you take the stage. Can I count on you? Thank you. I won't let you down. I gripped my violin bow and declared emphatically, "Who would have thought I'd get to hear you play again? It's worth living a long life, I tell you. Hey, hurry up and get the stage ready. We're about to hear Trent's performance." I made my way to the stage. Before leaving the dressing room, I glanced back at Julie. She smiled at me encouragingly and gave a firm nod. With Julie's violin in hand, I stepped out to the center of the stage. As the spotlight finally fell on the performer, the audience fell silent for a brief moment. But then, they quickly realized something was off, and the murmurs and whispers began to ripple through the crowd. Facing the audience, I spoke into the microphone. "I'm Julie's father. Unfortunately, my daughter had an accident and can't perform. I will be playing in her place." Before I could even finish my sentence, boos erupted from the audience. "Are you kidding me? We've been waiting for Julie. Give us our money back." The number of boos was significant, but I raised the violin and moved into playing position. My hand, gripping the bow, trembled. The large venue, the dazzling stage, and the dissatisfied voices of the crowd all brought back memories of that dark time when my mind was in turmoil. But this time was different. My daughter and wife were counting on me. I scanned the audience, and there she was, Yvonne, hands clasped together, looking at me with unwavering support. The memories of crumbling under pressure tried to surface, but I pushed them aside. I took a deep breath, letting everything go. I drew the bow. The sound resonated through the hall. Suddenly, the entire venue fell silent. I couldn't even hear a cough. The boos ceased, and those who had been complaining fell quiet. Many in the audience widened their eyes, now fully attentive to my performance. What felt like a long yet fleeting moment passed as I poured everything I had into the music. My body began to tingle with a familiar numbness. But I played to the very end. I had performed a piece in front of so many people, from start to finish. Bravo! As soon as I finished, a thunderous cheer erupted throughout the venue. I immediately looked toward Yvonne. Yvonne was in tears. I can see it from a distance. She was crying, but she smiled at me with pride. In that moment, I felt like I had finally overcome something significant. Riding that wave of emotion, I performed a few more pieces, relishing the applause that followed. When I finally stepped off the stage, my arms were tingling from the exertion. But it was a satisfying, almost joyful, pain. I can do this again. I can play the violin. Dad! Whoa! Julie? Are you okay? How's your arm? Julie rushed out and jumped into my arms. Dad, thank you. That was an amazing performance. It was so beautiful. Julie showered me with praise, one compliment after another, like a storm of affection. Her words filled me with a profound sense of happiness. To be praised by my own daughter, it was the best feeling. I hugged Julie back tightly. Thank you. It's all thanks to you and Yvonne. In the days that followed. Since that day, my hands no longer trembled when I played the violin. I had overcome the pressure and was able to return to performing as a violinist. And by my side was Julie. Yes, we are now performing as a father-daughter violinist duo. We become so popular that we even receive invitations to appear on television. And of course, Yvonne is always there, supporting us every step of the way. Julie fully recovered from her injury, and now she stands beside me, playing better than ever. I can't afford to lag behind. As a child, I was celebrated as a prodigy, but I was always alone. I was bullied and isolated, with no one to lean on. But now, I'm not alone. No matter where I am, my family is always with me. I've come to realize the importance of having a supportive family. And I know now that my desire to protect my daughter has guided me in the right direction.